Good morning, everyone. I'm still a little bit in awe of the former speaker Atul here when he sort of mentioned that Cognizant is 318,000 people, and I'm thinking that we have a complicated company with 5,000. I think, gee, you guys, hats off. And having worked with Cognizant very closely in Australia, I have to say that it's an exceptionally good company to work with. So compliments there. But a great morning so far. One of the people here was just commenting on the fact that the background music makes for a very lively environment. So I think that's very nice. Hopefully we're all enjoying and the conversations and the music a little bit. Thank you very much for the introduction, Eduard. Indeed, having heard some really in-depth speakers, I think it's now also maybe good to go a little bit into the practice that some of us feel as to how it actually feels going through these transformation efforts. If I look here, I see the Waag in Amsterdam. Dutch people here might know a little bit what that is all about. This picture is probably from around the early 17th century, which happens to be also around the time that the first mention of Vopak's predecessors was found in the city archives of the city of Amsterdam. A long time now. I've tried very hard to think of a fitting analogy to tie this slide to the topic of the presentation. The fact of the matter is utterly failed. I have no idea. But one thing I will tell you is that a company that has gone through 400 years and counting by now has had its share of transformations and transitions, and I think that brings me then also a little bit to the transformation and the transition that we see today. Now, before I go into digital transformation, data and analytics, and all the real substance for today, I can't not talk a little bit about what Vopak is, especially also because the bulk of my experience is really in running the business and not so much like now telling other people how to run it. So a little bit of what Vopak is about. At the end of the day, it is about the bulk liquids that go into the key industries that this world depends on. So energy provisions ranging all areas of energy, be it direct transmissions or power provision, liquids that enter into the manufacturing industry, basically giving rise to pretty much every product that we sort of so used to seeing around us, even though the supply chains can get a bit upset from time to time. And of course food and agriculture, so incredibly important to the ongoing livelihood of everyone on this planet. Now, if you talk to people at Vopak, we love to tell you stories about the different bulk liquid terminals and how the different types of terminals serve the specific supply chain needs of the liquids that go through it, ranging from industrial terminals that link every bit of a complicated integrated manufacturing complex together, providing feedstocks, then taking finished products and cycling them up and down again. Or now very topical, I think, the terminal infrastructure that we really need to cater to the future of our world, energy provision and the future manufacturing, which of course is new energy and green feedstocks. And we love to talk to you about that. At the end of the day, our customers are really not that interested. They really want us to do what we do best, which is to store their products with care and very safely. Now, I can't not talk about this in any presentation, so it's good to just come back to the fact that Vopak very much supports the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Three in particular relevant, I think, that is clean and affordable energy for all, infrastructure and industry of the future, and climate action. And we embody that, I think, in three lines of action. So emissions control, facilitating the switch to lighter feedstocks and fuels, and of course also developing industry for the future energy provisions. Now, on those one, I was delighted to see also this morning that there was an announcement that Xycle, a company dealing with sustainable feedstocks, essentially chemically recycling plastic waste, they just announced that they're setting up a plant here in the port of Rotterdam. So very, very nice to see. The four areas of new energy of critical importance for Vopak as a company is everything to do with hydrogen, be it in its pure liquid form, be it in the form of a liquid organic hydrogen carrier, or maybe in the form of also another energy source, ammonia. I think this is one critical area. Green methanol, other feedstocks. Of course, carbon dioxide, because depending on who you talk to, of course, opinions differ, but I think we fundamentally believe that storage and sequestering of carbon is inevitable if we are going to meet our climate goals. And interestingly, storage of electrical energy. I think anyone that's really been in the renewable business for some time knows that, you know, the wind blows, the sun shines, the water flows, but not always at the time that you actually need to consume electricity. So storing the electricity is key. Solid state batteries are of course very well established, but probably not the answer in the end to seasonal flows or even flows between weeks or months, etc., which we need in the future. So big areas of interest to us. Now, I told you that I would be getting back to the transformation strategy. So let's get stuck. This is how Vopak structured its digital transformation on the data-driven journey. Many of these elements have already been touched on by the previous speakers, so it's always good to see that actually people talk about it in different ways, but I think everyone structures or thinks quite similar. I think that gives some confidence. For us, 4 pillars. Cybersecurity is something that is incredibly important. And also from this stage, I really want to say again that I feel very sorry for everyone that is really working very hard in the cybersecurity field, because in my opinion, they always are working constantly, but they never get any credit for not being attacked successfully. So it's one of those groups of people that I think deserve all the recognition that they can give, because it is very, very, very difficult to get it right in this segment, as we of course see time and time again when specific industries are suffering seriously. But it has to be part of any digital transformation strategy, because without it, of course, left horribly exposed. Now, the one that I'm personally really proud of is the digital modernization. I think within Vopak, quite a number of years ago, we came to the conclusion that no one is really going to tell us how best to manage our core processes in bulk liquid storage and handling. So the real terminal management system, we decided is not something that we're going to buy from anyone else, and we decided we are going to design that from scratch ourselves on the platform of our choice. And that exercise started in 2015, and we're now very, very much on the way to getting all our terminals onto that self-developed system. Very, very proud of, and I think it is demonstrating value wherever we see. everything else, Vopak has said, look, we are not distinguishing ourselves in functional discipline of finance or in HR. Quite frankly, there is no way that anyone can tell us that we do something radically different. So we just buy best of breed, cloud-based solutions, and that's what we go with, and we don't spend too much time on customizing, etc., because again, others have exactly the same challenges as we do, so why should we do anything different? Now the third one is of course the one that makes my heart tick very warmly, also given my current responsibilities of being in charge of innovation. Absolutely love it. Looking at an industry which is very conservative, bringing that into the 21st century, as I always like to say, enormous amount of work involved, and I think very big opportunities working with very innovative young companies that help us achieve all these things like digitizing our operations, really getting sensoring established in our operational sites, our asset maintenance and inspection, which if you look at our annual report, we spend 270 million a year on this, and if we look at how we do that, well, it's getting better, but quite frankly, a lot of innovation efforts going in there to maybe get a 10 or 20% improvement, which is for us massive amounts of money. So a large part in the digital innovation. And then finally, really going to this platform company, where, and I'm now thinking, I think it was Eduard that was referring to it earlier. I completely concur. The architecture using or setting up the architecture basically consisting of key platform building blocks that allow you to actually take your data from everywhere that you have it and really bring it together so that you can derive value from it is very critical. We work heavily with Amazon Web Services, but there's of course Azure and many others that probably are equally good. But it is an essential part, I think, of your transformation strategy, is to get that right. A little different way of looking at it is you have a sort of a foundation, sort of a building where, starting with the operational technology and the information technology, doing all the stuff that I've talked about before, working on your assets, working on the processes, etc. But at the end of the day, the goals are to get to the top there, where we really work towards enterprise technology and truly become data-driven. If I look at Vopak, yeah, I think we're somewhere in this top of this red encircled area, and trying to now get into that first area of enterprise technology. Some successes, but it's not easy. So still work in progress. Ultimately, I don't know about you, but anyone working in this industry, I think, is always bombarded with roadmaps. I think roadmap for this, roadmap for that. There is nothing that we don't have a roadmap for. It's sort of nice because roadmaps allow you to be very vague as to when you're going to deliver what. You can always shift the dates and whatever. But it is a nice way, I think, of sometimes positioning transformation efforts in a way that people can understand, and one that I like very much is putting our transformation in the context also of the transformation of our customers. Because at the end of the day, if I look at Vopak, we will move with our fastest customers where we can, and only if we both move can we come to a digital transformation of the commercial space. But at the same time, we also have to respect that many customers might not be at that willingness or that speed, and we need to adjust accordingly. So it's very variable, but ultimately I think the message here is you can't, in the service industry, you can't transform by yourself. You need to transform with your partners and your stakeholders. And basically, this is a sort of a timeline way to represent the same story, where again I like to position the different building blocks, and in our case conclude that we're well underway. The coming years will really see the completion of the modernization of the core systems. Platforms still going to take quite a lot more time. Cybersecurity never stops, and of course the goal is really the digitally transformed company. Although at the end of the day, it'll probably never really stop. But you know, we do strive towards the progress. Okay, so encompassing of sort of trying summarizing the challenges that we face in this area. I like to look at these four cartoons because they say it in an interesting way. You're constantly fighting for attention on digital transformation, and sort of these four areas I think everyone will recognize. You're fighting the ignorance, constantly fighting the tendency of companies and decision makers to rely on guesswork, rely on your gut feels. You're constantly fighting the fear of what might go wrong. And a classic example is when I'm proposing digital solutions for operational problems, I constantly hear and said, look, but how can you prove that this will be more than 99% accurate, etc.? And then I say, well, I really can't. But the one thing that I'm absolutely sure about is that it's far more reliable than what we're doing today, which is basically sending people out to check stuff rather than relying on the digital signals. But it's that fear of that the new thing is not infallible often holds us back. And lastly, I think well known to everyone, diffusion. I mean, there's so many things that vie for our attention that on a transformation exercise you need years and years and years. So keeping people focused, especially at the senior levels of the organization, is quite a challenge. So digital strategy requires quite a bit of perseverance. Now the data part. A couple of things I thought might be illustrative of what Vopak is doing. A bit of a view as to the strategic underpinning, so the business cases, using strategic use cases to demonstrate why data-driven requires a whole number of steps. And then firstly looking at data as a service. If I look at this one, I'm particularly, I recognize it particularly well. All relevant data is understood and trusted. I have never personally led a migration effort or a change in a system without always a substantial block, and Atul will know this well, data cleansing. Well, why is the data cleansing? Well, because it's just you don't have your house in order. And it is a continuous fight. Within Vopak, I think we've done in itself very, very good things in terms of establishing clear owners, clear responsibilities as to who needs to make sure that the data continues to be maintained and in order. But that also is something that doesn't come easy, and we're not there yet, but we do, I think, have the right focus. And it's critical because if you don't get that part right, then most of the other stuff coming further down the line will just not yield what it's supposed to yield, right? And the part on the right is where we, of course, really want to get to, the data literacy all employees understand it. We're running a data academy throughout the organization, doing the first couple of hundred people this year, really taking them through multi-day courses to try and understand data, try and present algorithms, operations research, how it works, really to create that literacy. Very, very good, but it will take some time to get everyone through. And ultimately, utilizing the data really generate value. So I think I'm 20 minutes in, right? So I have a little bit of time. Okay. Now, there's also a roadmap for this. So this shows a little bit how we're getting to the ultimate end goal, the really AI driving the business. Currently, I think within Vopak, we can say that algorithmic-driven organization, we are getting towards that stage. So we have a whole range of algorithms that are informing decision-making, but still many more, I think, to develop. So it's work in progress, but getting there. And probably the part that I really love most is collaboration with the technology partners. Look around this exposition. There's an enormous amount of companies out there with really exciting things, and I agree with Edward that it's not the technology that makes the business, but at the same time, I think it is really our responsibility as a business to also sort of inform ourselves what is possible, and this is a great place to do that. Within Vopak, I think also given our 400-year history, we have recognized that we are not necessarily the company that's going to have all these ideas ourselves, so we have embraced very much the idea of finding technology partners that develop new and exciting things, trying to understand it, trying to work with them, sometimes taking a small equity stake if we think there's a mutual possibility to help each other. But this is a fascinating area, and I think it motivates me every day. So if I look at a number of those, Nexport International, I think we will be hearing much more from Nexport later on today. A true, neutral, secure data exchange platform. Now, why is that so important? Well, because many of our core problems in our industry, they rely on groups of stakeholders coming together and solving industry problems. If you just take demurrage in shipping industry, which some people estimate at $150 billion a year of losses, and there's many other of these specific problems. You will only be able to tackle them if you come together as groups of stakeholders. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you're able to share data, build applications together in a secure way. And however much we like each other, Vopak is never going to do that on a platform of its main competitor. Exxon is never going to do that on a Dow platform. It is just not going to happen. So we're very happy with this evolution of Nexport, because we believe that it is really a party that can help bring this type of collaboration further. And let's hope that they really are able to deliver. TWTG, abbreviation for the way to go. I think sort of being quite explicit about the confidence they have in what they're doing. Ultimately, a company that is really designing specialist IoT solutions for complex market needs. And I think they're also here. They can explain it much better than I do. But if I look at what Vopak really uses them for, is the realization that all our terminals, 75 around the world, many of them quite old, we do not have sensoring throughout those assets, because it was far, far, far too expensive to do that. Wired assets, incredibly expensive. Now TWTG has made it possible for companies like us to basically put in a relatively simple LoRa network and then put in enormous amounts of sensors wherever we need, so that we can determine that lineups are correct, or we can determine that rotating equipment is properly run, that there's no issue with wear and tear, with other vibration-related aspects, temperature controls in areas where we did not have that in the past. So the potential is very, very significant, and it's an exciting partner to work with, because they also are constantly developing new sensors and looking for partners to do that with. I spoke earlier about asset inspection and maintenance. We spend on our total asset capex, we spend about $270 million a year, so a lot to work with. Fulco, a Rotterdam-based company, they provide digital asset condition assessment platform. And ultimately, I mean, it's very, very, very complex stuff that they are able to do. What it comes down to for me is we have our assets, in our case tanks, making 3D model, so simple 3D model of your assets, subsequently using data acquisition methods for inspection, be it drone supplied visual data, or be it scanning tools provided NDT data, whatever it is that you need for your inspection, you superimpose it on the 3D model. The model is accessible to everyone that needs it, everyone in your organization. It's accessible to your contractors. If you want to let them scope, work, it's all there. It's all the same, one vision of the truth. You can go into that model, deep dive into very specific areas to investigate things closer, what needs to happen. And finally, if you've done all your work, your risk-based inspections, everything that you want to do in the platform, you can simply extract your inspection reports, which you used to get, whatever, in a PDF stack on your desk. You can just get from the system one vision of the truth. Very, very nice, and they have a very very ambitious roadmap to bring in all other types of assets, pipelines, jetties, you name it, they will bring it onto this platform. TechPlay in the marine area, a company that really takes public data and then contextualize it so that you can work on your visibility of marine traffic, predictability at your terminals, when are the vessels coming, when are they really coming, so that you can plan your operations, that you don't have people on the berths when the ships are not coming, and vice versa. Allowing a lot of collaboration between different parties, surveyors, terminals, cargo owners. Again, a very, very exciting company to work with, and well worth a look at. Data acquisition, we work with a company in Singapore, Performance Rotors. They are now also in Europe and going into China as well. They have these drones that are very, very robust, so you can use them inside your assets. So we've done inspections inside spherical tanks, under jetties, in pipeline columns, very, very difficult areas they can fly the drones through, because they're very robust. They can withstand hitting stuff, etc. Very, very good stuff, and really allows you to prevent putting people into harm's way. So a nice one to work with. Aquacycle, wastewater treatment company. They provide, how could it be anything else? Wastewater as a service, or cleaning wastewater as a service. So you don't have to put in your own assets anymore. You basically define your wastewater streams, and basically they put in the assets and charge you a specific fee for dealing with your water, cleaning it up. Incredible efficiencies, really able to clean to standards, I would say, that meet any regulation worldwide. And the nice thing is it actually produces energy in the process, in their membrane-based process. So it doesn't consume energy, but it's actually a net producer as well. So it's a good upside on the emission side. And with that, let me thank you for your time and attention. It was very nice to be here today, and wishing a very good rest of the conference. Thank you very much.